And with that, it's time to hand over to Lloyd Kavanagh, partner at Minter Ellison Rudd Watts, to formally wrap up the day's activities. Over to you, Lloyd. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you very much for the opportunity to wrap up the day's events and draw the conference to an end. And hasn't it been a fantastic conference in an extraordinary year? And I want to give a big shout out to Richard and all of the FSC team for the great work they've done, not only over the last couple of days, but the work that they've been doing all year to reach out to members and work with us through a very different context, to say the least. The session today, I think, has continued the previous 2 days, emphasising those themes of guardianship, well-being and sustainability that are so important to us all. Those have really been underscored. This morning, they've manifested themselves in 3 kind of sub-themes that have run through quite a lot of what's been discussed. First of all, the election, which is underway and will come to an end on Saturday, COVID and its continuing impact, and then looking forward and identifying and recognising climate change as the next big global challenge. So we had Richard Clippen presenting the Financial Services Council research launch. COVID played into that. There was really useful insights in terms of literacy and understanding, the sense of how we feel about ourselves as New Zealanders, where money worries sit, and the connection with mental health. Then we moved to some political keynotes where Corin Dan hosted conversations with James Shaw and with Emma Mello. James Shaw spoke, as you'd expect from the Climate Minister, about some of the achievements that have been reached this year and which are particularly relevant to the financial services sector. So the fossil-free default KiwiSaver requirements, the work ACC has been doing in terms of decarbonisation, and then the recently announced proposals for climate-related financial disclosure. There was a conversation about whether or not we'll have a wealth tax. Then Emma Mello told her story as a candidate. She comes as the national candidate for Auckland Central from the financial services sector. She talked about COVID, the economy, house price inflation and transport. We then had an excellent panel which Corin Dan again hosted with Heather Duplessis-Allen, Kirk Hope and Josie Pagani. That was fantastically entertaining and insightful political commentary. There were great takeouts for me. One-liners from Josie Pagani: Parliament has become a dialogue between the haves and the have-yots. Who can forget that? But more seriously, we were also hearing from Heather Duplessis-Allen about redefining COVID as being a medium-term issue and adapting to a new environment rather than hoping that we'll go back to the way things were. And Kirk talked about an election that we're having which is largely missing a policy debate. Then finally, we've just had Jace Tupatu, a wellbeing advocate. What an incredibly moving and powerful dialogue. His work helping children and adults develop the tools to address stress and mental health issues have never been more timely. And there's a big call to action for all of us given New Zealand's very poor rates of depression and suicide. So it was fascinating to hear about his M3 program for children based on mindfulness, movement and Māoritanga. We've all now had our 5 breaths. So to conclude, once again, what a fantastic conference in an extraordinary context. A big thank you to the FST team for all that they've done, and also to you, the audience, without whom it wouldn't have been possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd. What a great summary of the morning we have had. Before we hand to Richard Clippin for some closing words, I would just like to remind you of the 4 concurrent sessions taking place at 3:30 this afternoon. There is a second of our FinTech sessions alongside the final session and the investment, insurance and generations stream. Plenty of fantastic content to choose between. And thank you for your attention today, audience. It's been an absolute pleasure to host you. And now to Richard Clippin to close. Thank you. Ka kite.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's end of a conference, a unique and different conference, standing here in a studio in downtown Auckland, communicating to people all around New Zealand, something we never imagined 10, 12 months ago, but here we are. As we do with all of these conferences, it's a huge and collaborative effort. Over the last 3 days, we've had over 140 speakers across 35 odd sessions, and we've curated a conversation in so many parts of the financial services sector. And it's a huge, on behalf of all of us, because it's collective, a huge thank you for everyone who's participated, whether you're an audience member, whether you're a speaker, whether you're beaming in, whether you're part of the media, whether you're a politician, whether you're a journalist. It's just been a pretty inspiring few days. We had an ambitious task at the front end of the year to craft and curate a conversation around generations and unpacking the ideas of well-being, sustainability and guardianship. And hopefully over the last few days, we've provoked some thought, we've provoked some debate, and we've allowed all of us to dip into conversations like Jason's and others that have gone through the last few days. So to the conference committee, a massive thank you. As I did on the first day, it's been your program, you've curated it, and we've collectively enjoyed it. To our speakers and sponsors, a huge thank you. This is not possible without you. And as Lloyd just said, to the audience who's beamed in and watched, fortunately we've captured every single word, every single moment, every single speaker, and it's going to be ours to enjoy as we dip into things we may have missed and wanted to get to. The beauties of the digital world is that you can actually do that, and a little to the Netflix comment of this morning, we've now got hours and hours of things we can dip into if we wish to. To our main platform MCs, Vanya on day 1, Kirst on day 2 and Yvonne on day 3. You know, this is the conference built by the sector for the sector, and to ask or request those 3 ladies to get up in an environment that's very new to them and to carry a show of this magnitude, just huge hats off. It's been fun. There's been a whole bunch of things happening behind the scenes, which at some point we'll all share and reflect on. To our rappers of the days, David on day 1, Mike on day 2 and Lloyd on day 3, thank you for bringing the show home and sharing with us your concluding comments. On that note, to the FSC team who on day 1 I thanked, it has been a pretty mammoth effort to within about 4 weeks lift and shift a face-to-face show at the Quarters Hotel with all the moving parts to the same thing but done digitally. Absolutely spectacular effort. And again, we'll share some of these insights and share them back out. On that note, have a fantastic afternoon. Our last sessions, as Yvonne said, are due to start with the sundowners. So enjoy those, and we hopefully will look forward to seeing everyone in the flesh sometime soon. We are planning something in Auckland before we go to Christmas, and certainly there's a date already set in Welly, and we look forward to being in the flesh where we can, as a community, connect, share, learn, and just have a good time together. That's our calling card. That's part of our culture. It's part of what we do. Have a fantastic afternoon. Ka kite anō. Thank you.